Hey everyone. Today we are going to be talking about estate planning and why to do it. My name is Kristen Gunderson with Gunderson CFO and Bookkeeping. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick so that I can go off of the PowerPoint. All right. So why do estate planning? An estate plan with a revocable living trust is our foundation. This is what we recommend for all of our clients to have done or to get it done. Revocable living trust basically owns all of your assets. 50% of Americans do not even have a will done. A will is the basics. Everyone should have a will done. It's so important to have a will done. I've seen instances where a family has gone on vacation, they didn't have a will done, and the parents died. And I think this happened in California, where I heard about this case, and it played out for 2 years. The grandparents of one and the grandparents of the other were fighting over who should get the kids. They like just over the basics of who should get the kids. So a will is important just for that purpose. But a will basically says the who and the what, but there's also going to be probate. So your estate's going to have to go to probate, and so the house, you're not going to be able to sell the house until a judge signs off on the probate. Make sure that there's no other siblings out there, and that no one's contesting the will, and then you'll be able to sell the home once probate is done. With a revocable living trust, basically it spells out when and how, and there is no probate. So we really recommend this because it can spell out exactly, okay, I don't want all of my kids to get the money as soon as they turn 18, which is what happens with a will. Like I spell out, okay, on there, I spell out who the trustee is, who the guardians are, and we spell out, okay, yes, go ahead and purchase them a reasonable vehicle when they're 16, nothing brand new. Go ahead and pay for their college out of the life insurance, up to X amount of dollars, or make sure that and I can spell out, make sure that they match it with scholarships or grants. And then they do not get, they get 1/3 of their inheritance when they're 25, and they get another 1/3 of it when they're, say, 30. Or if they want to go ahead and buy a house, go ahead and give them a down payment of, I don't know, $10,000 to $15,000. Whatever you want spelled out into your trust is what can happen. Because if they're going to receive all of that money when they turn 18, they're going to blow through it. They're not going to know how to manage it. They're not going to know what to do with it. They're just going to blow it on whatever they want to. But if we're spacing it out and maybe having them like, you know what, I would like you to take a total money makeover course with Dave Ramsey in order to receive the first inheritance when you're 25. That way I know for sure they know how to budget, they know how to save. You can also put in there in the revocable living trust, if you want, say, I don't know, $10,000 to go to your favorite charity, and my charity's name is XYZ. Like, you can literally spell that stuff out. And then once you die, say both of you die, the house goes into the trust. There's no probate. Like if you have a business, that goes into the trust. So it's really important that you have all this stuff spelled out. If you have a business, what's the succession planning? Are you going to have one of your employees run it until they can go ahead and sell it? Are you going to have the employees run it and then maybe give them a percentage of it to run it? And then, like, there's so many ideas that can be done in a revocable living trust. That's why I recommend it. And then I also recommend that you update the trust every 5 years, or when a major event happens, say, um, You have a family member who you don't want in there anymore, or say you have a new birth of a family member or grandkids or whatever. So whenever a major life event occurs, go ahead and update that, or at least every 5 years, update that trust. So what are the advantages of a good estate plan? So it avoids publicity. So if you like to be private, go ahead and do this. Without a living trust, your will and the amount of your estate becomes a matter of public record. Another thing I recommend is naming your trust, not the Kyle and Kristen estate plan or living estate plan or whatever it's called. Name it something off the wall for that. When you're moving your assets into it, people don't know who own it, like the Blue Ribbon Trust or the ABC Trust. Name it something off the wall. If you have a good estate planning lawyer, they will tell you this for privacy matters. If you don't, if they don't recommend this, I would recommend finding another estate attorney. Okay, it also avoids delays and headaches. The going through the whole process of probate takes a lot of time. Probate just takes time and it's a hassle. It costs a lot of money. So you can avoid that if you have a good estate plan. It avoids the expenses. Probate is expensive. All the lawyer fees and like all the court fees and it can vary by state. And it also avoids any confusion of the who, what, when, where, and how. Like it just avoids that because it's spelled out in the trust exactly how you want things. And then it gives you a peace of mind. Know that your assets are going exactly where you want them to go. Okay, so unique assets. So real estate. If you have real estate, go ahead and put it in your trust. That way it will avoid probate. So if you have rental properties, put them in there. If you have your house, put it in your trust. Children, I already touched on this, but when they receive their inheritance is important. So breaking it down, you can break it into halves or into quarters. You can break it down to one lady I had, she she had that they received their trust when they were 60 or 65. They didn't receive anything now because she's like, that's like, she was still working. She's like, that's when they're going to need it the most. And they just don't know it yet, is when they're 60 or 65. I can't remember the exact date, but it was old when they received their inheritance. Business, who's going to run your business and how? The special rules for S corps owned by medical professions. So that is something that the lawyer who's doing your estate planning can talk to you more about, and they should go into that with you. Animals, who's going to keep Fluffy? Where's your dog going to go? Where's your cat going to go? Go ahead and put that into your trust too. And go ahead and pay the people who are going to take care of your animals for that. You know that they're cared for. Give them $1,000 a month. Or not a month, maybe a year or a couple grand a year, with proof that the dog is still alive and living or the cat's still alive, that they can go to the manager of the fund to be able to get that money and make sure that they're going to the vet or whatever and that the vet fees are covered. So if you have any guns, rifles and shotguns, that should be spelled out in the trust and who they're going to. Hopefully they're registered, that sort of thing. If you have crypto, so that your logins and your keys need to be kept someplace and kept someplace separate and safe, like fire safe or something, and where to find them. Kyle and I were just going through kind of our death planning and, having a list of where everything is, what the passwords and everything are. Go ahead and make sure that people can get, like, where is the life insurance, and how to get into this stuff, and make sure that one or two people know where the stuff is and how to get into it. The deeds, make sure the deeds are in your safe. And then any foreign assets, your trusts may mean nothing. So, okay, make sure your estate planning includes the following. So the revocable living trust, you need to have a trustee. You need to have an executor and a guardian. So you need to have power of attorneys for your finances, for your health care. You also need to have an advanced healthcare directive or living will. So this is like if you're on, um, you're pretty much a vegetable, like letting them know what you want done. Do you want to stay in a vegetable state for 6 months and then pull the plug? Or, after 3 months or a year, just letting like that should be spelled out in your state of how you want your quality of life to be. You need to have your funeral and burial instructions. This is something that my husband and I were working on recently. We already have an estate, but we are really diving into, do we want to be cremated? Do we want to be buried? Where do we want to be buried? Who's going to have the ashes? What songs do we want? What's in the obituary? Like what things do we do that should be in the obituary? Really laying out all that stuff. So that is a fun project that really makes you think. If you're an organ donor, that needs to be put in there. Who's going to take care of the pets? Again, the computer passwords and files, that needs to be in there. And then these specific requests, as in, I want to leave X amount of money to my charity ABC, and then another charity XYZ. So that all can be put in there. Okay, so the estate tax basics. Your inheritance is not income. There is an inheritance tax in these states. There is a thing called stepped up basis. So for instance, if you inherit a house or land or something, it's not you inherit it. Say grandma paid $50,000 for this house in, I don't know, 1950s, and she left it to you in her will or in the trust, and you inherit it today in 2024, and it's now worth $200,000. You get the stepped up basis. So basically, whatever it's worth today when she dies, that's what your stepped up basis is. So go ahead and get, like if you're going to hang on to it for a while, go ahead and get an appraisal on it of what it's actually worth when she died or he. And then that way you can hang on to it for a rental for a while, or if you want to go ahead and sell it, and say you do sell it, and say you sell it for 200,000 today, you go ahead and sell it next week or whatever, and it's worth 200,000. There's going to, seeing how whatever it was valued at when you inherited it, the 200,000, and then you sold it for say 200,000, there's going to be no gain on it because you sold it for what it's worth. But if you hang on to it for say another 5 years and it's worth 225,000, you would take the 225,000 minus the value of it when you inherited it, the stepped up basis be 200,000. The gain is only 25,000 then. So just for you to understand what that's what this one is. The lifetime exemption amount is 12,920,000 for 2024. But just so you know, some states have a lower estate tax. I think like Minnesota, it's like 4 million or 6 million. So your state tax may actually be, you may have to pay more in estate taxes for the state that they're in. If you're in Texas, we don't have one. So basically you just need to worry about the federal estate tax. And then for the gift tax, right now it's 17,000 per recipient per giver per year. So the annual exclusion amount. And then I just want to be able to go over one last thing before we end this, the revocable versus the irrevocable trust. So revocable trust means you can make changes through amendments. You can move assets in and out of it. It's a pass-through. There's no EIN and there's no asset protection. An irrevocable living trust means no changes can be made. The trust owns the assets. There's no changing it. So you cannot add new assets to it and you cannot get rid of the assets. It files its own return in the highest tax bracket. So right now that tax bracket is 37%. So when you have an irrevocable trust, it's 37% in taxes. It has its own EIN. It is a separate entity. but it does have asset protection in it. Okay, and then the last thing is once you have your um, revocable living trust set up, we want to fund the trust. This is really, really, really important because if you have this trust open and you haven't funded it yet, it's kind of useless, right? So you need to go ahead and make sure that the beneficiary of your life insurance is the trust. If the beneficiary is the husband and the kids, it goes to them automatically. And basically everything you set up in the trust of, hey, I want a third of it to be distributed to them when they're 25, and another third when they're 40, and another third when they're 60. Like none of that matters if the beneficiary is not the trust. Your brokerage accounts, make sure the beneficiaries are set up as the trust. Any vehicles, titles, the trust is on there. Your home and any other real estate, make sure that the trust is on the title of that. Your businesses, make sure the trust is the owner of that. Any bank accounts, retirement accounts, your crypto and other digital assets, and then any personal property, precious metals, and firearms. You want to make sure that the trust name is on it, or the trust is the beneficiary of these accounts. All right. So I hope this was really helpful to you. This is one of the things that I talk to in my, I am a certified tax advisor, and this is one of the things I talk about with my clients when I'm advising them. One of the first things I always want to make sure that they have a trust set up to get the foundation good. And if anything happens to them, like the trust is set up and we know where the money is going to go, who's going to get it, when it's going to happen. There will be no probate, so you won't have the extra expenses. And if you would like to make, if this sounds like something you're like, oh my gosh, I need to go ahead and do this, go ahead and make an appointment with me and we can have a discovery call with my staff to see if it's something that I can help you with. And if you just need a trust done, we're going to go ahead and refer you to our law firm that we are partnered with. And if you want to have a comprehensive consultation of review everything and make sure that you're set up properly and everything and how to save you on taxes and giving you tax strategies and building your wealth and building a legacy for you, then that will be the comprehensive consultation, which is the second meeting after the discovery call. But the discovery call is always the first step. So if that is something that you're interested in, go ahead and book that discovery call and we'll get you on the calendar. Thank you.